everyone, welcome back. Today we're exploring the Georgia Central Railway. The Georgia Central is an interesting railway that I've never really explored before. They operate on 211 miles of ex-seaboard trackage between Macon and Savannah. The stretch between Macon and Vidalia is known as their Macon Sub and was the same for the seaboard. Here in Dudley stands the only defect detector on the entire Macon Sub, now clearly abandoned. This was installed by the seaboard and is located at milepost 40. This bungalow is rather interesting as it is longer compared to other seaboard-built bungalows. It looks like this detector supported the use of dragging equipment flaps, which were soon taken out after being abandoned, but the metal piece they resided on is still here. These two light casings, now barely recognizable, is where the red and white defect lights were placed. Long before radio transmissions were used by detectors, these two lights were your source to tell you whether you had a defect or not. As you can probably guess, if the white was lit you were clear, the red meant you had a defect. Moving to the door that leads inside to the bungalow, you can still see who once owned this right-of-way with the Seaboard Family Lines logo barely visible on the left. This is what the sticker used to look like. Unlike pretty much everywhere else on the seaboard, the mileposts on this line are numbered as the distance between Macon and Vidalia, whereas they're usually numbered as the distance from Richmond, Virginia. To start off on the history, the Georgia Central was chartered in 1885 as the Macon and Dublin Railroad to connect those two towns. In 1891, the name was changed to the Macon, Dublin, and Savannah Railway, even though the railroad did not reach the city of Savannah. Actually, the original railroad did not go closer to the coast than Vidalia, where it interchanged with the Savannah, Americus, and Montgomery Railroad, or SAM for short. The SAM is most notably known for its passenger runs out of Cordele, now owned and operated by the Harder Georgia Railroad and Genesee and Wyoming Company. In 1906, the Atlantic Coastline purchased the MD&S, and only a few months later, it was sold to a group of investors. In 1912, the MD&S was purchased by the Seaboard Airline Railroad, then it continued to be operated separately until 1954, when it was fully absorbed into the seaboard. In 1990, the current Georgia Central Railroad was formed by RailLink, which purchased the former MD&S and the Savannah, Americus, and Montgomery line from CSX. The ownership of Georgia Central changed hands in 2012 when Genesee and Wyoming purchased RailLink. Today, the Georgia Central successfully runs two freights, well technically four. Two between Macon and Collins near Vidalia, and two between Collins and Savannah, each Monday through Friday interchanging traffic at CSX and Norfolk Southern. This is why we decided to make the 30-minute drive to the GC in hopes of catching L781, northbound run between Collins and Macon. What brings many out to the Georgia Central is their unique motive power for these trains. General Electric B32-8s have been the primary source of power for these freights lately, most being X and S. In fact, Georgia Central just recently acquired two more of these locomotives, which are still in their original NS paint, one of which is helping get L781 to Macon this evening. Alright, enough of that, let's get to work. A few hours of driving around and waiting would pass with no signs of L781, and with pretty much no radio transmissions on the main line, it would be pretty difficult to find out where the train is. So we decided to sit in a vacant parking lot on the other side of the road from the tracks and waited it out. Then around 8:15 p.m., I heard the faint sound of an engine and then the horn. We didn't like the spot we were located for any video, so we moved north a little ways to Jeffersonville proper and just barely made it. L781 is usually a 6 o'clock to 6:30 p.m. arrival here in Jeffersonville, according to the employee of a gas station in the middle of town. But due to some maintenance away, they had a late start. The crew on board had been on since around 1 o'clock this afternoon, getting aboard in Collins, and had to stop for crew change in Jeffersonville at the depot. This whole situation with the crew change was interesting. This is because with the L781 crew running out of time, the crew of L781's counterpart, L782, would have to be driven out here to Jeffersonville for them to bring in 781 the remaining miles to Macon. Then they would have to yard the consists and then get on L782 and take its out to Collins. After a few minutes of the crew getting on board, they were off to Macon, slowly getting their train up to speed as it rolled around the curve in downtown Jeffersonville. After clearing Jeffersonville, we decided to get another shot of him a few miles north. It would take a second for them to get up to speed, so we had no problem getting ahead of it and setting up at some crossing with a short sighting. With daylight quickly disappearing and having school the next day, this is where we part ways with the tracks and start the trip back home. It was pretty interesting exploring something new, and I gotta give credit to Zane Williams, a conductor on the Georgia Central who has just recently completed engineer school. He's the one that supplied me with all that information and all those great photos shown earlier, which is very much appreciated. I couldn't have done it without him. Go check him out on Instagram at Zane Williams Photography. I hope y'all enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure you like and comment, and also subscribe if you're new. With that being said, I'll see y'all on the next one.